It's been an extraordinary evening here for those of us who have gathered to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the founding of HRNK.
We have been a driving force of reflecting on North Korean human rights and making the world aware of the abysmal human rights violations in North Korea. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm absolutely delighted to introduce the first speaker of the night, Congresswoman Young Kim, U.S. Representative from California's 29th District, has been gracious enough to join us tonight and give brief remarks. She's a great American, a great champion of freedom, human rights, and democracy, a true human rights defender. What a treat. Congresswoman Young Kim, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Greg. Hello, everyone. I am honored to be invited to join you this evening as you celebrate the 20th anniversary of the human rights in North Korea. This organization I've known for a long time, ever since it was founded 20 years ago. And now I'm proudly serving as the representative of California's 39th Congressional District. One of my main focus is human rights. North Korea human rights. Human rights around the world. There are a lot of people that need our voices and our perspective to help elevate the issue and bring it up on the front burner. So we need to speak for the voiceless people. We need to advocate for people who do not have the platform to make this on the front burner issue. So in my small capacity as only one of 435 members, but by golly, it's a powerful one because I serve on the Foreign Affairs Committee with you, and I promise you, I will be your voice and I'll be your advocate, especially when it comes to fighting for human rights in North Korea. And that's what your organization is. You found that. Greg, you've been around for long enough. He has been a wonderful champion on this issue, as all of you are. So I want to thank you so much for your support, your advocacy for this organization and for the issue and for the cause. I apologize, I need to leave. But I tell you, I'm going to be on the same panel in 10 minutes with Senator Marco Rubio, who I know is also a champion on this issue. And I'm going to go tell him what he missed. Thank you so much for having me. Enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And each and every one of you is a friend, donor, supporter of this very important, some would say quixotic mission. We press on. Let me begin by thanking our sponsors tonight, the David Family Foundation, Jack David, board member. The Kang Family Foundation, Steve Kang, board member. The Lantos Foundation for Human Rights and Justice, Dr. Katrina Lantos Sweat, our co-chair. The One Korea Network and Mrs. Annie Chan, represented tonight by my friend Hyun Sung Lee. The Defense Forum Foundation, Suzanne Schulte. The North Korea Freedom Coalition, Suzanne Schulte. Each and every one of you who has purchased tickets and made donations in honor of this 20th anniversary. You make our work possible. We are here to implement your vision. And we thank you for your resolute support. Please remember that we are running a silent auction. You've got a QR code in your brochures. There are also a couple of posters upstairs. All you have to do is scan those QR codes. We have some awesome items. Our co-chair, Katrina Lantos Sweat, and her husband, Ambassador Richard Sweat, offered the beautiful, beautiful property in Maine. Ambassador Robert Joseph, Airbnb in West Virginia. Roberta Cohen and KDO, lunch, dinner at the Cosmos Club, signed autographed copy of KDO's book. Melanie Kirkpatrick, 3 books, autographed, signed, a cross carried, pocket cross carried into North Korea by a missionary. Lots and lots of very good items. This is a fairly packed schedule. We would like to encourage you to keep enjoying your dinner. I have been asked about the head table. There is no head table concept. These tables are hosted by board members, Katrina Lantos Sweat, Tom Barker, Kevin McCann, Marcus Noland, Nicholas Eberstadt, David Maxwell, Jackie Pack, Roberta Cohen, our co-chair emeritus, and also by staff members, Rosa Park, Director of Programs, Amanda Mortwood, Director of International Outreach and Development. I'm also hosting a table. I'll be on and off. I'm truly honored, we're all truly honored to know that we're joined by 10 North Korean escapees, including Mr. Lee Jong-ho, former official of Bureau 39, his daughter So-hyun Lee, and his son Hyun-sung Lee, who represents OKN, Gala donor, the Open Korea Network Gala sponsor, Park Sang-hak, Fireball, the Balloon Man, Chung Kwang-il. My dear friend, Camp 15 survivor Greg Guy, and our own Do-hyun Jake Kim, working with HRNK. His wife, Jeong Kim, and other North Korean escapees. We're absolutely delighted to be joined by Cindy and Fred Warmbier, parents of Otto. It's truly meaningful. We are honored by the participation of prominent Chinese dissidents, freedom fighters, Lian Chao-han and Professor Kai Sha. Thank you. Mr. Nam Shinu, who for so many decades has supported this movement, the North Korean human rights movement. Thank you. This is a celebration of the board, of their vision. We celebrate our board members, and we treasure the memory of those who are no longer with us. Freddie Clay, Congressman Stephen Solars, Ambassador James Lilly, the Honorable Philip Merrill, RFA Korean Director Che Hunan, and Ambassador Richard Williamson. I'm delighted to introduce our co-chair, Dr. Katrina Lantos Sweat, also president of the Lantos Foundation, human rights defender, educator, former chair of the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. Katrina, you're the daughter of the late Congressman Tom Lantos, who was a great champion of freedom, democracy, and human rights, the only Holocaust survivor to have ever been elected to the U.S. Congress. Katrina is joined by her husband, Ambassador Richard Sweat, and also by her sister, Annette, and by Denise Perron, Executive Director of the Lantos Foundation. Thank you very much. Katrina, the floor is yours.
I can hardly express what a thrill it is to see all of you here tonight. This was sort of a gleam in our eyes some months ago when we realized we were coming up on the 20th anniversary of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea. And through the extraordinarily hard work of our extraordinary Executive Director, Greg Scarlatti, and his remarkable team, this magical night has come to pass. So I'd like you please to first all join me in giving Greg and the amazing team of HRNK a big round of applause. As Greg has just indicated with some of his introductions, we are here tonight in the presence of heroes, of brave escapees, of human rights activists and fighters, of those who have sometimes put everything on the line for freedom and for the opportunity to tell the truth about what is happening to their fellow Koreans in the most repressive, oppressive, and systemically evil regime on the face of the earth today. And let's not forget it. It's been mentioned that I'm the daughter of Tom Lantos. And before I got up here to share my opening remarks, I was talking with the professor about what troubling times we are in, and how I wish my father were still here to speak the truth about the dangers we are facing. One of the lessons that my father, as a survivor of the Holocaust, never let me and my sister forget was that appeasement with evil never works. It never works. It is tempting. It is a siren song. It is usually pursued in the interests of peace, because of course we all want peace. We all want those shared goals, but we must not pursue them at the cost of appeasement, because we will live to rue the day. And that's a message that everybody here tonight really has a sacred obligation to deliver, first and foremost to our leaders in Washington. I don't think Congressman Young Kim needs that message, because I think she understands, but there are many others who do not. And respectfully but firmly, we must deliver that message to them. Respectfully but firmly, we must deliver that message to the government of South Korea, that once again, in pursuit of the very noble goal of peace, at times is flirting into that dangerous territory of appeasement. And so it's strengthening to me, and it's exciting to me to be here with a group of people who understand so clearly the dangers, the threats, the slippery slopes that are out there, but also understand the preeminent importance of the values that we stand for, values of human rights, human dignity, human freedom, and justice. I want to pay special tribute to the parents of Otto Warmbier who are with us tonight. I know that Greg already introduced Fred and Cindy, but we are so honored by your presence. And before I came up here, I heard my sister in conversation with you saying that in some senses your son, through his martyrdom, was a window for an uncaring world into the nature of a regime that most people would rather not think about. Because when this strapping, handsome American kid from UVA found himself caught in the clutches of this evil regime that killed him, that murdered him, and we should speak the truth, suddenly eyes were opened. So we know your grief is immense, but we thank you for fighting this fight, for telling this story, and for honoring us with your presence tonight. So my late father, when he used to launch some improbable undertaking, kind of like establishing the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea, would often say that he felt like he was starting out with one foot firmly planted in thin air. And from there, he would try to build. And build he did. And that's precisely what the founding mothers and fathers of HRNK did. It was in some ways starting with one foot firmly planted in midair. But now, at our 20th year anniversary, we have a firm foundation under us. And each one of you here tonight has been part of building that firm foundation. And we thank you for that from the bottom of our hearts. You know, the late Adlai Stevenson used to say that solutions begin by telling the truth. And when it comes to telling the truth about North Korea, there is literally no organization on the planet with the credibility, the substance, the reputation of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea. We are the truth tellers. We document the reality of that evil regime with substance and depth that no one can turn away from. There is a lot of work to be done. I think that my friend and colleague Greg said it sometimes feels like a quixotic mission. But I firmly believe that if we neither falter nor tire in the pursuit of this incredibly noble and powerful goal, human rights for the people, all the people of Korea, that we will ultimately prevail. And we thank you for being part of this incredibly important effort. Thank you so much.
Dr. Katrina Lantos Swed. Katrina, thank you so much. Very emotional, moving remarks. We're not the Korea Society quite yet, but we do have a musical performance tonight. And that is going to be Master Soyeon Jung. The worst kept secret in America is that she is the teacher of Rosa Parks Tokola, who's also a Kayagan player. So we are delighted to host you, and thank you very much for joining us tonight. And the floor is all yours. Thank you. it is HRNK's report authors who are truly the drivers of this cause and mission. And we have three of them with us tonight. One of them is Martin Williams, author of Martin, thank you very much, Digital Trenches, a report on the information environment of North Korea. Dr. Court Robinson of JHU, author of Lost Generation, a report on the health and human rights of North Korean children, 1990 to 2018, two landmark reports. And then there's none other than David Hawk. David, please deliver the running mic to David Hawk.
I'd like to thank the committee for appointing me to go off to South Korea, interview refugees, and write up prison camps. I'd like to thank the board of HRNK for hiring a succession of executive directors for whom it's been a pleasure to work with over the decade or two. And I'd like to thank my wife, Joan Libbyhawk, who came up with the title for the first prison report, Hidden Gulag, which turned out actually to be quite a serviceable title. I'm half tempted to ask the board of HRNK if I couldn't have the 20 years back. Being in your late 50s is better than being in your late 70s. But I'm only half tempted because it's not been unproductive. When Jack Redler tried to get me into this, and he now, by the way, a former board member who now lives in Sarasota, Florida, where we reside, sends his regrets. Some days he's mobile, other days he's not, but he wanted to send along his regards to you all. But Jack told me that when I met the North Korean refugees and heard their stories, I'd be drawn into this work. Hooked, it was his word, and he wasn't wrong. Hidden Gulag came out I'm only half tempted to ask for the 20 years back because it's not been unproductive. Hidden Gulag came out in 2003. That was the year of the first UN resolution on the situation of human rights in the DPRK, and the committee sent me over to Geneva to help that along. And then in 2004, you had the North Korea Human Rights Act from Congress, which put North Korea human rights on the agenda of the American government in a much more substantial way. So it's not been an unproductive 20 years, but I don't wish you another 20. I hope, I don't know, I'm not unbiased but I'm not aware of any NGO or agency that has done as much to document, analyze, and publicize the particulars of the phenomena of repression in the DPRK than has the committee. That said, I don't wish you another 20 years. I hope way before then that the terrible repression and repressive system in North Korea will be consigned to the the dustbins of history. But until that happens, I trust that you all will continue, and in that I wish you well.
I want to take this opportunity to thank HRNK for the 20 years amazing work it has done and will continue to do. Your leadership has been instrumental in raising awareness of this unheard human sufferings in that country, and in exposing the most brutal, evil, killing family regime. And your hard work is critical not only for North Korea, but also for China, because it provides a mirror that reveals the true China image of gross human rights abuser. China installed Kim Jong-un to power. It continues to support the regime to persecute Northern Korea people. And we know that China has been ruthlessly deported many escapees from the war, and many got killed because of that and disappeared in the Gulag. And recent investigations also show that Beijing and Pyongyang has been colluded to traffic forced labor to work in the factories in China. We must stop that. We must do more to improve human rights conditions in both countries. But to fundamentally address the issue, I think we need regime change. The first step is to break the control of their control of free flow of information, tear down their great firewalls, and offer free, open access, internet access to their people. I look forward to working with HRNK to end human rights abuses once and for all. May HRNK many more happy returns of the day. God bless. Thank you.
My name is Hyun-Sung Lee. I escaped North Korea 7 years ago with my entire family. So my dad is here, my sister's there, and my mom is also in the United States. When we decided to defect from North Korea, that year we saw 500 officials executed, and 20,000 people were sent to the prison camp. And it was happening in just 1 year. And experiencing like losing friends and colleagues, and we believe that this is not the country we have to leave or we want to serve. So that made us make big decision to leave the country behind everything there. And today I'm very honored to be here to celebrate 20th anniversary the Committee on Human Rights in North Korea. And now I'm working for the NGO to protect the liberal democracy on the Korean Peninsula. That's One Korea Network, also one of the sponsors of today's Gala. As a North Korean escapee, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to HRNK and Board of Directors and all of you here who has been fighting for North Korea's human rights, justice, freedom, the people living in North for the last 20 years. And I'm also speaking on behalf of my founder, One Korea Network, to express her gratitude to all of you here. And during the Korean Revolution, before the Korean War, her grandparents were brutally executed by the communist regime before Korean War. And her family, parents, fled North Korea after losing everything to the regime. Her family's experience describing the foundation of the brutal dictatorship. It is so unfortunate, and right now, at this very moment, the brutal human rights violation is still ongoing, and my relatives, my fellow North Koreans, still suffering from this regime. And the human rights violation is not limited to just North Korean people. We must not forget the citizens of the United States and Japanese kidnapped victims and the victims of terrorism. The human rights of North Koreans is not something to be negotiated in exchange for fake peace, the silent injustice. The basic right is inalienable. That's why we are, my fellow North Koreans, fighting for this freedom to protect our people's human rights and freedom. And that's why so many people like Annie Chan and like you are supporting the North Korean human rights freedom. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, if peace means keeping my mouth shut in midst of injustice and evil, I don't want it. Peace is not simply the absence of conflict, but the existence of justice for all people. And my father always says, without North Korea's human rights and freedom, how can we achieve peace on the Korean Peninsula? Is it real peace, or is it just turning blind eye to injustice? I sincerely hope we can all say in the future, what we have done what is just for the sake of people living in the North, has the same human rights and freedom as us. Thank you.
I always say to Greg, you guys don't do enough. He knows how I feel. Dr. Eberstedt over there, I call and I get ideas from all of you, but I just want you to increase your efforts. If you're here, that means you care. And if you care, that means you're one of the few. So we need to work harder, we need to shout harder. When I hear someone from Congress saying they want peace on the Korean Peninsula and war is the end, that's absolutely untrue. Until we free North Koreans, we have a responsibility to keep the pressure on them no matter what. And every time we back down from Kim, gives him more power. I want all of us to work harder. Promise me tonight you will work harder. That's all I want. Thank you.
Fred and Cindy, I don't know what to say. I'm always at a loss. You have suffered this tremendous loss at the hands of the Kim regime. I lost a son. I have two daughters. I really don't know what to say. It's always such a privilege to work with the two of you, to know that we're together in this good fight. But you've lost so much more than all of us combined. So really, thank you for being here tonight. And thank you all for being here with us tonight. Before we move on to the last segment of the evening, let me credit my colleagues who have worked on this program. Of course, the board has been tremendous. Rosa Park, our director of programs. 10 years with HRNK, joined shortly afterwards after I joined. Amanda Morquido, Director of Development and International Outreach. And of course, our Director of Operations, Raymond Ha, who's just returned to HRNK. All of the interns were here. They've been fantastic. Irene Khan, Yeji Chong, of course, Do Hyun Kim again, and Cheon Kim, Caroline Ward, and Lauren Morrison. Lauren, thank you. Claire McCree has done some great work on keeping things together for the gala. June Kim, who's no longer an intern with HRNK, but has embarked on a great career. You're still one of us, once HRNK, always HRNK. Maria Corte, doing some great work on graphic design, working with Rosa. Of course, Shruti Nalapa, who's done some great work on the gala, and all of those interns who have not been able to join us tonight. Tremendous work, tremendous team. In this age of Zoom and Doom, we've had up to 35 interns split up into teams: UN outreach, congressional outreach, EU outreach, legal, social media, you name it, all of them doing such tremendous work, committed to a great cause. 10, 20, 30 years from now, there'll be great champions of this cause. Speaking of great champions of this cause, we have had 3 board members who have quite recently left the board. We're planning on having a great celebration, a grand celebration for all of them. Of course, COVID hit us and we didn't have a chance to do this. We would like to celebrate all 3 of them tonight. And I would like to invite our co-chair, Dr. Katrina Lantos-Sweat, to join me. The board passed resolutions that honored their contributions to HRNK. We have engraved these resolutions on plaques that we hope they will treasure, because their contributions to freedom, democracy, and human rights have been absolutely tremendous. Only one of them is present tonight, Dr. Roberta Cohen, co-chair emeritus of the board. As far as the other 2 are concerned, Helen Louise Hunter, author of Kim Il-sung's North Korea, and Debbie Liang Fenton, former board member and executive director during the early stages of HRNK, a true founding mother, if I may still say that, of HRNK. They just made historic and great contributions to this organization. Since they're not here, we will have 2 of our board members accept these awards on their behalf. So we're going to have Dr. Nicholas Eberstadt, the American Enterprise Institute, great board member, like every other board member, accept the award on behalf of Helen Louise Hunter, a friend. We're going to have Dr. Marcus Noland accept the award on behalf of Debbie Liang Fenton, also convey a message that we just received from Debbie, say a couple of words about Debbie's contribution, and then we're lucky enough to have Dr. Roberta Cohen, our co-chair emeritus, actually join us, receive her award, and give remarks. Once again, thank you, and we're ready for the next segment.
A resolution honoring Helen Louise Hunter, former member of the Board of Directors of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea, HRNK. Whereas Helen Louise Hunter provided critical initiative and support during HRNK's development as a founding member of the Board of Directors for 18 years. Whereas Helen Louise Hunter played a major role in sustaining and supporting HRNK and advanced the organization's goals in the United States and beyond by providing essential contributions to numerous HRNK reports through her reviews, edits, and wise counsel. Whereas Helen Louise Hunter made essential contributions to HRNK's work and management as a member of the executive committee. Whereas Helen Louise Hunter was a thorough, dedicated, and talented record keeper for HRNK as secretary of the board, therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea on this 4th day of October 2019 that Helen Louise Hunter be honored and thanked for her long service to the organization. or give it to you.
Well, for Helen Louise. So Helen Louise was present at the creation of HRNK and was instrumental in the direction that we took. It was more than adventitious that she was so deeply involved in our research committee at HRNK and in the strategic direction that we embarked upon. Because Helen, like others in our group, really believed that truth will set you free, or more importantly, that the truth will set them free. And she was not exactly a newbie when she got to the research committee at HRNK. In my misbegotten youth, maybe 40 years ago when I got to DC, the people in the know told me there was this report that I had to read, that I had to get my hands on if I want to understand the realities of North Korea. There's some woman connected with the intelligence community who'd put out this remarkable piece of work that was classified. I wasn't able to get my hands on it for about another 2 decades. Greg mentioned it. It was published years later as Kim Il-sung's North Korea. But the vision and the insight and the detail and the attention to excellence that was in that inaccessible piece of work really informed all that Helen did with us. And I think we all should offer her a salute for her an appreciation for the great good that she has done for our cause. So let's hear it for Helen Louise.
I'll take it from you. Nick, that was a tremendous tribute. Thank you so much. And next, we're going to move on to our next award, which is going to be Deborah Liang Fenton. Debbie Liang Fenton, who was the first executive director of HRNK and also a board member. Mark will be accepting the award.
A resolution honoring Deborah Liang Fenton, former member of the Board of Directors of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea. Whereas Deborah Liang Fenton made great pioneering contributions prior to her joining the Board of Directors as founding executive director of HRNK. Whereas Deborah Liang Fenton provided critical initiative and support during HRNK's development as a member of the Board of Directors. Whereas Deborah Liang Fenton played a major role in sustaining and supporting HRNK and advanced the organization's goals in the United States and beyond, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea on this 4th day of October, 2019, that Deborah Liang Fenton be honored and thanked for her long service to the organization.
To you.
Thank you. This morning I was discussing this event with my fiancée, Dr. Carolyn Smith, and I mentioned that I was actually surprised that we were here. And she said, "Why is that?" And I said, "Well, most organizations of this sort fizzle and fade away. And the fact that we're still here 20 years later is both a testimony to the tenacity of this organization as well as the intractability of the issue that we confront." And so as a founding board member, when this afternoon Greg asked me if I would accept this award on behalf of Debbie Liang Fenton, the first executive director, I said, of course. And I went home and prepared some remarks. Then while standing at the bar this evening, Greg handed me these remarks that Debbie had written herself.
Oh.
And I'm happy to read But let me say one thing, Greg, I love you.
Love you too.
You're a wonderful executive director. I voted for your salary increase this afternoon.
Love you back, man. Thank you.
But I'm old. I have no hair. My skin is sagging. In the future, if you're asking me to read things in public, please print it out in at least 14.5.
You're welcome to borrow my glasses.
Preferably 16. This looks like 10.
Mark, you're a triathlete. You're a marathon runner. You're an athlete. You'd be like you beat all of us. I mean,
All right. Let's see if I can do this. In all seriousness, these are the words of Debbie Leanne Fenton. Friends and colleagues, it is a great honor to be presented with this recognition on the occasion of HRNK's 20th anniversary. I am sorely disappointed not to be with you this evening. It was a privilege to have been HRNK's founding executive director and later on its board of directors. Years later, I continue to be heartened by and proud of the meaningful work of this organization. My work with the committee was the highlight of my professional life, building relationships and helping the people of North Korea by conducting groundbreaking research and publishing reports, such as the Hidden Gulag. The first time satellite imagery was used to provide visual proof of the prison camp system, pairing this imagery with defector testimonies and establishing a common vocabulary around incarceration in North Korea. Helping to shape and realize the U.S.-North Korea Human Rights Act, and building a community of actors from across the political and sectoral divides who would propel momentum around the protection of human rights in North Korea. These are just a few of the accomplishments of which I am most proud. The struggle of ideas persists, and the work of the committee is more important than ever. I am grateful to have had the opportunity to be part of such a movement, and I would like to thank Katrina, Gordon, Greg, and the HRNK board for this recognition, and for carrying on the essential work of achieving human rights protections for the people of North Korea. I would like to add one more comment of my own. I truly hope that 20 years from now, we all meet again. And it's a purely social occasion. Mission accomplished. Thank you very much.
Mark, thank you for the terrific remarks. Extraordinary. And thank you for the vote today. We're now ready
Yes.
for our next honoree, Katrina.
A resolution honoring Roberta Cohen, co-chair emeritus of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea. Whereas Roberta Cohen made great contributions as a member of the board of directors, chair, co-chair, and co-chair emeritus of HRNK for over a decade. Whereas Roberta Cohen provided critical initiative and support towards HRNK's development, growth, and operation. Whereas Roberta Cohen played a major role in sustaining and supporting HRNK and advanced the organization's goals and critical engagement in the United States and at the United Nations and beyond. Whereas Roberta Cohen has been a luminary, a thought leader to HRNK and all those committed to human rights, freedom, and justice for North Koreans. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea on this 16th day of October 2020 that Roberta Cohen be honored and thanked for her long service to the organization.
Roberta, we're so happy you're with us tonight, and we look forward to your remarks. Terrific. Would you like the mic?
Yeah.
Or-
Oh, let's see. I guess better like that.
Okay, great.
I prepared remarks this evening, and Greg has not given me any other remarks to read out, so you're going to have to hear my own. But I want to thank Katrina, and I want to thank Greg, and I want to thank the board. I am honored to be honored by HRNK. Its 20th anniversary, as we all have heard tonight, is one of historic significance. It was one of the first NGOs to recognize the seriousness of the stories coming out of North Korea as people began to escape in the 90s from the famine. It was one of the first to recognize the importance of documenting the situation and was not discouraged when access was blocked, when information was hard to come by, and there was no prominent dissident or group inside to work with. Instead, as we have heard, HRNK broke through the blockade by listening to those who escaped, by compiling corroborative testimony, by using satellite imagery, and publishing well-documented reports that are cited by the UN Commission of Inquiry, by the State Department Human Rights reports, by the Secretary General's reports, and by governments at the UN Security Council. In raising the profile of North Korea's human rights situation, HRNK succeeded in becoming a catalyst for both United States government and United Nations action on human rights, and helped promote the view that while denuclearization and hunger are essential issues when it comes to North Korea, they are intrinsically linked to the human rights situation, which must also be part of the international agenda on North Korea. HRNK's strength and reputation, as underscored this evening, grew from a bipartisan effort. Both Republicans and Democrats founded HRNK. And when they worked together well, the goals of the organization moved forward rapidly. Let that be a lesson for this country and for HRNK's future. Finally, let me highlight the commitment at the foundation of this organization and one of its most striking features. Indeed, all those closely associated with HRNK, its executive director, there is the executive director, Greg Scarlatu, who is been a wonderful executive director. The staff, Rosa Park Tokola. Where is Rosa? Disparu. Okay. Amanda Mortwet-O. Amanda? There you are. Raymond Hopp. Where's Raymond?
There's Rosa.
Okay. Rosa, we just saluted you. HRNK's officers, board, advisors, and HRNK authors, I would call them, who have been wonderful. They are the ones who merit honoring tonight. For it is these people who have devoted so much energy, time, and resources to shining a light on a very dark corner of the world, where people are daily crushed by a dictatorship, shattered in political prison camps, and who have no voice of their own. In my cell phone, I carry around the pictures of Kang Chol Hwan, who was a survivor of Yodak, and who now heads a human rights group in South Korea, and Ji Sung Ho, who you heard from before, and who lost some of his limbs trying to find food so that his family would not starve, and who is now in the National Assembly in Seoul. They and others like them, and we have others here this evening that we've heard from who have escaped, and we've also heard from the Warmbier family. These remind us that human rights work, well, they first bring to us, I should say, courage, inspiration, and resilience. And they remind us that human rights work is not glamorous or black tie, but very long hours, intense concentration, strong motivation to beat the odds, and an overriding commitment to never, never, never give up. On that note, let me say good night to everyone and thank you.
So please continue to enjoy the evening. Thank you so much. We're so happy with us tonight. Cheers. Enjoy.
I think it's really important to understand the suffering of the Korean people in the North. And today we were able to hear from a number of escapees and refugees from the North. And I think the appropriate term is escapee or refugee and not defector. They are not traitors to their country, but they are seeking freedom from the most oppressive regime in the modern era.
So without freedom and human rights, there will be no real peace.
True peace can only come to the entire Korean peninsula if it is grounded in human rights. Unless we factor in the human rights of Korean people living in the North, true peace, true reconciliation, unification will not come. The focus must be on the human rights of Koreans living in the North.